Hey, Narc Slayers. So I just finished reading this book, Prepare to be Tortured. And I'm going to give you the breakdown of the book and also how you can maybe prevent it in the future by spotting narcissists and avoiding them like the plague. It's all coming up in this video, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung. I am a narcissist negotiation expert. I've been recognized as a top 1% attorney. I'm a best-selling author of 2 books. And what I do is I help you negotiate with narcissists in a powerful way that allows you to shift the dynamic, shift the conversation, shift the power so that you are the one in control. Finally, you're the one who's on the offensive and not the defensive. And if that's what you want, then make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. Okay, so let's talk about this book. It's called Prepare to be Tortured. The author is A.B. Jameson. I've never met this guy, but apparently he is a psychologist and also a guy who has had the misfortune of dating several narcissists until he realized what the heck was going on. And so he decided to write a book about it. So this book, it's a small book, but it's actually also very small print. But I just got it on Amazon, and I'll make sure I drop a link to it below so that if you guys want it, you can grab it too. There are 16 different chapters in this book, and what I love about the introduction is he straight up says, narcissists are bad news. Yeah, that's putting it mildly, huh? Okay, so he also talks about why he was targeted, partially being a nice guy, and partially also because I gave off signals that I would tolerate this behavior. You know, you don't get your goals, you get your standards. That's one of my favorite quotes, and it's so true. And, you know, for me, I dealt with a couple of narcissists in my own personal life, one in a business setting and one as an extended family member. And I found myself going, well, I don't want to, make waves, or I'll just, go along. How bad could it be? Maybe it'll get better. Maybe they'll see the error of their ways, or maybe they'll see, what a good person I am for them, or how much I do for them. Or maybe they'll just stop. I mean, in the moment, you don't think out long term, right? You just think, well, I don't know, there's some signs, but there's other stuff that's good, and so that's what you end up doing. So, but what he claims in this book is by reading this, you will be able to spot and avoid them, and you will be able to survive them and be a stronger person and be less likely to attract them in the future, which sounds amazing, right? So, chapter 1, he talks about the idealization phase, which oftentimes is called love bombing. And if you want to know more about love bombing, check out my video on love bombing, where I go into much more detail on that. But basically, he talks about how this is the phase where they are almost sort of grooming you. They're looking to see if you are going to be a good source of supply for them. They appear to be perfect, and they're actually excellent at reading people. So whatever holes you have in your life, they're there to plug them. They're there to fill them. They're there to be that person. They want to be your person. But even at that point, you start to see some little holes in their story. So the example that he gives in this book is somebody, who's starting to date this guy. And a couple weeks in, he mentions he has 2 ex-wives. And you're like, no, I'm pretty sure he only mentioned that he had 1. And he knows he only mentioned 1, but he tells you that, no, he definitely told you 2. And then when you don't say anything, okay, you've passed their wicked test, their test of toxicity, which is, okay, it confirms that you're going to let it go. It confirms that he has the upper hand. It confirms that you're going to be a good source of supply. Then he goes into chapter 2, which is the devaluation phase, the testing period. This is now, he calls it the now let's just see phase. He sets a test like arriving late, forgetting to call, just doing these things that are like, oh, I thought we were on a pattern here. I thought we were responding to each other right away. But then the other person may be upset that you didn't respond right away, but they want to make sure that you're being tested. And then when you ask them about it, now they spin it on you. Now the projection starts. Oh, I'm busy. You know that. I can't be at your beck and call. What do you expect? Things like that. And then you end up feeling guilty or feeling like, oh, I'm sorry. And maybe you even actually apologize for it. And you actually think, okay, maybe there is something wrong. Maybe I was being overly, nagging or whatever. So then the testing continues, right? And sometimes they push it a little too much, even in this phase. And you go, ah, forget it. I'm not going to want to be with this person. And so he actually talks about that in the book. And he gives the example of when you decide you don't want to do that, that's when this person in the example in the book, he said, has lets himself into your house with his spare key. He makes you breakfast. There he is. You can't get rid of him. Now all of a sudden that overwhelming, to me it's almost like you can't breathe, overwhelming, like they're right in your space and they're proving to you how wonderful they are once again. And so there you go, you ignore all the red flags because you know what, it can be so good. The good is like so much better than anybody else. So you have these extreme, situations. It's extremely awesome and then it's extremely horrible as well, but they want you to just forget about the extremely horrible. Forget about that. Let's move on. The past is past. Now we're moving forward. Okay. And so that's chapter 2. Then the next chapter, he talks about the discard phase. And I've talked about this before. If you want to check out my video on that, you can definitely do that. But this is where that you see the birth of the smear campaign. This is where you start to see whether it's you discarding or them discarding. This is when you really start to see, war happening, because for a narcissist, you're either for them or against them. You're either a source of supply or you're going to be a source of supply in a different way. So you're either going to be a source of grade A diamond level supply with your adulation and being under their full control, or you're going to be the next grade level down, which is going to be, then I'm going to prepare to torture you. All right. Because that's when the real torture begins. That's when it's like full on war. You become public enemy number one. And that's what we see at the disintegration of the relationship, whether it's a business relationship or a divorce situation or a romantic relationship that's disintegrating. That's when you start to see that you become public enemy number one. Okay. So, and that's what he says. Chapter 4 is it's time to be tortured, because you're either going to give them supply in one way or you're going to give them supply in another way. And during this phase, you might actually also see that hoovering. You might see like obsessive texting or showing up or maybe even stalking you. They want to make sure that you don't forget. He talks about narcissists and how they have this endless need for attention. That's in chapter 5. In chapter 6, he talks about their obsessive need for control. He actually says that 16% of the population is narcissistic, and that equates into a 1 in 6 chance that either you, me, or someone very close by will indeed be a narcissist. How fun is that? All right. So, in one of the quotes that he has in here, which I thought was really interesting, which is, by the time you start to feel like you're being used or you start to begin to doubt yourself, you're already in too deep, which is definitely was my experience as well. He actually also talks about narcissists as friends, and he goes into a little bit of narcissists in the workplace and how narcissists can be out narcissist by other people, and how they use social media. And he talks about dating a narcissist from start to finish in 50 steps, and narcissists and money. And then he actually goes into a whole chapter of red flags, which is how you will be able to spot and avoid narcissists in the future. Promises won't be kept. Everything is taken for granted. I mean, I remember with one of the narcissists that I had to deal with, I felt like being in their space was the price for, you know, I had to do something of value for them in order to be in their space. Like that was the price. And then you weren't going to be appreciated for it. It was just like that's the cost. Like that's the only reason you even get to exist. And it was like really, really hard to describe, but you certainly aren't ever going to be appreciated or valued the way that you want to. And especially when you're dealing with a narcissist in a close relationship, you're like depositing, depositing, depositing. You're doing all the work and expecting something in return, and you never get anything in return. There's a nice little chapter on here too, chapter 16, on recovering from a narcissist, which is something you certainly want to do. So if you are getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, make sure to grab my free Crush My Negotiation Prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. And feel free to join my free private Facebook group as well. If you are so ready to break free from that narcissist, I want to see you break free in the comments below. Make sure that you like this video, you share it, drop me that comment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure that you do that. It is so time for you not to be tortured anymore. So subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. I'm Rebecca Zung. Thank you so much for stopping by. And remember, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life. I'll see you in the next video.